You are about to receive a spiritual gift activation in your Akashic records with the fairy spirit. You're going to want to save this video because it's quite lengthy, so you can listen when you have time and energy, and maybe that's right now. But I wanted to give you a heads up. And this activation is part of a bigger series, so if you enjoy and you would like to receive one from the unicorn, dragon, mermaid, phoenix, tree spirit, and elf, you can sign up for the spiritual gift activation in my bio or in the comments. And let's go ahead and get into the fairy spiritual gift activation. Hello and welcome back. Today we are connecting with the energetics of the fairy spirit for our spiritual gift activation. I'm really excited about this one, and it was a little bit different than I thought it was going to be. I went to go channel outside, and when I got there I was like, oh, this is very on brand. You gotta channel the fairies, obviously being out in nature, but the gift that came through was a very interesting and very unique, the way that it presented itself, and I'm just really excited to get into it. So we'll go ahead and jump on in. When I went into your energy field, we were in, I wouldn't say a dark room necessarily, but it was kind of dim. And you were asking, where are we? And the fairy spirit said, we are inside of a castle. And you said, oh, how fun. Giving regal. And you said, where are we located? Where exactly is this castle? And they said, Wellington, England. Wellington, England, if that is a synchronicity for you. And what is really interesting when I went to go look up more about that city is they were very well known for wool production. You know, where you shear a sheep and then you make clothes out of their fur. So wool production. And the fairy said, do you want to go see the sheep? And we both said yes. So we're outside of the castle, kind of in the grounds out there. And there was a huge flock of white sheep. Okay, or like cream colored sheep, you know. And they are outside, so I think we're not going to be like super white. So a big old flock of sheep. And there was one that looked a little peculiar, oh my gosh, peculiar. In the middle. And you said, what is going on with that one? This is what the sheep look like. Rainbow sheep. So the fairy said, good catch, because you're like, what's going on with that one? And you walked over and you put your hands on its face like this with so much like love and adoration. We're staring into the sheep's soul. And you said, your name is Mimi. The sheep told you that. And you said, Mimi, it's so nice to meet you. This is when we actually astral projected into the sheep Mimi's energy field. You, me, and Mimi as a person. Because this is a greater analogy for people who are a little bit different in reality. And so there was a human soul that was within Mimi's analogy, if you will, and we needed to go speak to her, and this is the way that we navigated there. So you, me, and Mimi in this space with one another. Mimi, this person that you were going to be assisting today with their growth and evolution. So this is a kind of spirit that has reached out to us so that you can activate this gift within your own field and recognize it within. So Mimi asked you, why do I stick out so much? Because obviously the rainbow sheep in the flock of the regular ones. And you asked, why do you think that you stick out? And Mimi said, I've always done things differently than others. And you asked, what if everybody did the same exact thing in life? And Mimi said, well, there's safety in uniformity. So basically what you were getting at is, hey, life would be a really boring place. But Mimi was saying, well, at least I'd be safe. And you said, but are you really living? And Mimi said, I suppose not. Why is it so easy for them and not me? And you asked, do you think it's easy? And what Mimi meant by this was everybody else seems to be able to get along with the get along and assimilate. But I am the one that is always sticking out. So again, you asked, do you think it's actually easy for them? And you, me, and Mimi saw society kind of as a whole, and a lot of just melancholy people walking around, just kind of with their heads down, sad. And Mimi said they seem like they are trapped within their own consciousness or limiting beliefs about reality or even themselves. And you said, if it's already difficult to communicate, then why not at least feel free while doing it? And so this is you kind of saying, hey, we're all trying to figure out where we fit in to the world. And so this is something that every single body on the planet is navigating. Kind of like when you are a teenager and everybody's going through these awkward hormonal phases and they're just trying to figure themselves out. It's difficult for everybody during that stage, regardless of where you come from, okay, your social status or what friend groups that you're in. Everyone goes through that awkward phase. And so that's kind of what you were saying to Mimi of, if everybody's having a difficult time anyway, then why don't you liberate yourself and express yourself however you want? You asked Mimi, why do you think it is difficult to communicate? And when we say communicate, it's more expressing yourself authentically and saying the things that you want to and sharing your ideas and beliefs and values. And Mimi said, for fear of being ostracized, standing out in a negative way. And you said, have you ever thought that they are standing out in a negative way? Not you, they. And Mimi said, what do you mean? And you said to Mimi, it sounds like we are overly concerned with people who are not experiencing joy themselves. What if joy is the norm and complacency is standing out? And Mimi said, well, I've never thought about it through that lens. And you said, well, one of the biggest parts of self-expression is learning it is safe to do so, making it the norm. Authenticity attracts authenticity. Hiding attracts hiding. What you meant by hiding was hiding of self, masking, people-pleasing, adhering to other people's expectations, not really showcasing your gifts, talents, and abilities, shrinking within self. That attracts more of that. This is when we went back to the sheep analogy, and Mimi was standing in the middle of this flock and started to step out in front of all of the other sheep. Where we were all standing with one another was kind of in this valley next to the castle, so there was a lot of verdant green hills out in front of us. And when Mimi stepped out in front of all of the sheep, all of these rainbow sheep started pouring in over the hills, okay? Just like this, so many of them trotting along towards us. We can also learn about archetypal energies. These are certain characteristic embodiments that people hold. I'm going to give you a couple different examples here. The magician, alchemist, wizard, witch. The hero, explorer, warrior, and healer. The huntress, queen, sage, and mystic. Teacher, storyteller, advocate, and cheerleader. If you have an awareness of archetypes, it's a little bit easier to see where people are at with their self-concept and confidence and how they are viewing themselves and reality. And archetypes are these certain personality traits that one can hold that build a avatar or a certain type of character through culture and storytelling narratives. And they are not suited for every single person, obviously, because we are all individuals. But if you have an awareness of these, it's a little bit easier to help direct people in the directions that they need to head in order to create effective shifts in their lives. There is a gentleman named Carl Jung, and he was a pioneer in archetypes. Obviously, he did not necessarily create them. That's a greater collective consciousness thing that is going on. But if you look up Carl Jung's archetypes, that will get you started. And then you can expand a little bit outside of that to more of the mystical ones, like the sorceress, enchantress, magician, alchemist, and things of that nature that are seen more in mythos throughout history. We can also look up a long list of personality traits that one can have, because the way that your brain works, if you see a list like this, it's going to keep it at the forefront of your consciousness. You do not necessarily have to memorize all of them. It's more of just having an understanding of the wide scope of different traits that people can possess, And then when you need to see them within somebody else, it'll be easy for you to access them in your memory bank and in your subconscious. So what this would look like is going on Google or ChatGPT and just typing in personality traits, attributes, characteristics of people. And I'm going to give you a couple different examples here. So optimistic, curious, grounded, playful, wise, loyal, confident, compassionate, self-aware, motivated, adaptable, and magnetic. Again, those are just a few, but if you have those words circulating in your field and the energetics of them, it's a lot easier to spot what people have already, the potentialities of what they could have, or if they're running low in the percentage on some of them. This one, your higher self came forward again and said, in regards to the spiritual gift, you see the rainbow sheep who are ready to step out and just need a little encouragement. You see their genius and their creativity, even if they are not able to see it fully yet for themselves. You're like a talent scout. You're like, oh, you, come here. You are the person they have been calling in to reflect their greatness to them. This is a mirror effect gift that you have. Just as others have done for you. If you think about your existence thus far, there have been some fundamental people and pieces that have reflected things that you need to hear about yourself that you didn't fully understand for you yet, but they were giving you a future premonition, if you will, about an embodiment that you are going to have in this existence here. So they can see, hey, you're really confident, you're really accomplished, you're so funny, you're so witty, you're so wise, you're so intelligent. And even if times you didn't fully feel that for yourself, hearing it through the lens of another can instill a lot of confidence along the way until you do reach that point one day and you're like, oh yeah, that is me. Your higher self said, look how wise you are to lead them through this process. Remember to look at your own reflections as well. So what they were saying is, you were so beautifully able to help Mimi work through this and have this whole experience of helping the sheep over here, like the normal sheep, assimilate into being their own rainbow sheep. What an amazing accomplishment with your innate abilities. Now we're just bringing a little bit more conscientious awareness of what it is that you are doing for others and how to further development, but it was already within you. A couple different synchronicities that you may have experienced through this journey is going to visit the castle in Wellington, England, experiencing the rainbow sheep, I mean, you being a rainbow sheep as well, and having the gift of reflecting people's true natures back to them. Or maybe even the opal table that we were sitting at. Maybe that's your favorite crystal. So we want to thank the fairy spirit so much for inspiring our journey today and being our beautiful guide. I am super excited to see you for our next activation, where we are going to be connecting to the Phoenix spirit. Hello and welcome back. I would love to hear what your biggest takeaways were from this activation in the comments. And again, if you would like to receive 6 more spiritual gift activations with the unicorn, dragon, phoenix, mermaid, tree spirit, and elf, you can find that in my bio or in the comments. And I'm wishing you the absolute most magical day.